Okay. All right, so for those of you that don't know, if you click on the chat button at the bottom of the page, you probably want to pull that chat window off to the side so it's not blocking the screen. But you'll want to have that open because we'll be talking about a few different things that you might want to chime in on. So if you have questions during the video, throw them in that chat box. I'll see if I can answer those questions. If not, if I don't have time to jump there to answer it at that moment, I'll make sure to at the end of the video answer the questions for you. We'll try to do a quick Q&A at the end of the video as well for anybody who has those questions. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm really excited about today's video, guys. We're going to be talking about personal sponsoring. Now, for those of you who didn't know this, we're going to start doing a weekly video. We're going to do twice a week. We're going to do a different topic every week. We're going to do these webinars like this. And the idea is the field development team, our job is to work one-on-one with people in the manager ranks, as early as manager, to help them grow their business. Now, unfortunately, we have bandwidth issues that keep us from being able to do one-on-one calls with every distributor there is. We really wish we could, but we know there's awesome distributors out there that are looking for training that just, we don't have the time to get to everybody. So we're doing these webinars as a way of still giving that same level of training, that same information, and the same skill levels that you're going to need to know to those people that we don't have time to get to for one-on-one interactions. So anybody that you have that's a distributor, they're all invited to see these. Again, we're going to do a different topic every week, and it's going to go for about 2 months at a time, and we'll start recycling some of the topics. But yeah, as we said, today we're going to be talking about personal sponsoring to start things off. Let me just double check, make sure we got that set up right. It looks good. Okay, we're good to go. So first things first. Your organization, you need to think of your organization like a vehicle, right? That's leading you to your goals in life. It's leading you on the journeys that you want to live, right? We have a lot of friends and upline who are down in Mexico right now, enjoying that awesome sun and the beaches out there for the Founders Club trip, right? They earned that trip and they're down there enjoying that right now. So think of your business, your organization as an airplane, we'll call it, right? A vehicle to get you to where you're going. Now, where does personal sponsoring play into this? Personal sponsoring is the fuel for your vehicle, okay? There's a couple of areas to focus on here. You have different sponsoring. You have your personal sponsoring, which are the people that you enroll right on your front line. Then you have what we call team sponsoring, which we'll talk about a little bit more on another video. But team sponsoring is how many people your team is enrolling together as a group. Now, team sponsoring also plays into this analogy. The team sponsoring is going to be the angle of the airplane. You look at this airplane, this picture, you can see it's sort of tilted up, right? It's angled upwards, which means if the engines are going, it's going to go up, right? It's going to climb. So the idea is you want the higher your team sponsoring is, the higher up that airplane is going to be aimed and the more you're going to climb, right? Now, you can have your airplane aimed up, right? Let's say that you have great team sponsoring and your airplane is aimed upwards. If your personal sponsoring isn't happening, then it's going to run out of fuel. And at that point, it doesn't matter how your airplane is aimed. If you're out of fuel and it doesn't get any more, eventually it's going to hit the ground, right? And that's true across every organization. It doesn't matter if you're a director. You could even be an executive. You could even be a platinum executive. And if you stop personally sponsoring, after a while, your team is going to stop sponsoring, and soon enough, that organization, that airplane is going to find the ground. It's going to come all the way down. It's going to crash, right? So you need to remember that personal sponsoring is something that needs to happen always. You never stop personally sponsoring, no matter what level you're at. You're always going to be enrolling people, okay? So I feel like I've kind of beat a dead horse there. I'm preaching to the choir. I know you guys know that you need to be enrolling, right? But it doesn't matter what level you're at. Keep that in mind. It is the fuel to your vehicle, and the more you enroll, the more fuel you're giving your vehicle, the more food you're, feeding your organization. So just remember to never, ever stop sponsoring. So let's jump to the next one here. Next page. There we go. Now, we've talked a lot about a corporate mantra here where we've talked about 1 a week plus 1. For those of you that don't know what it is the idea of enrolling 1 new member or product user every week during the month, plus 1 extra enrollment, usually a distributor if you can, during the month at some point, right? Now, if you do that, you'll have 5 enrollments every month. okay? And the idea with that is we went and we did the math across all healthy organizations that were growing, and we found that the average number of enrollments for a healthy organization was 5, okay? So if you have, let's see. Oh, let's see. Sorry about that. It should have been, I just got the messages in the chat there saying to mute. I thought it was on mute upon entry, so let me just go ahead and mute real quick. All right, I believe everyone is muted now. If not, and if you can see that you're not muted, go ahead and mute yourself, just so that we can make sure that we're not interrupting there. All right, I think everyone's good there. Mute all. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, 1 a week plus 1. When you have those 5 enrollments, that means that your organization is healthy or growing, okay? And if you can stay consistent with 1 a week plus 1 and always enroll 5 every month, your organization will undoubtedly grow. The people who are under you will start to recognize that pattern of constantly enrolling and constantly sponsoring, and they will do the same. They will start to enroll and sponsor, and they will, well, you'll be leading the charge, but they'll follow suit. Now, you'll notice on the left there, I've got a grade scale. We've got A, C, and F, right? Now, as I mentioned, when we did the math, we found that the average amount for a healthy organization was 5 enrollments, okay? The average between A and F on a grade scale is a C, okay? So just to help you guys visualize this a little bit, let me know there in the comments if you guys can see my cursor as I'm kind of circling some of these numbers with my cursor. Let's see. Okay, perfect, thank you. So if you are enrolling 5 people a week, that's the average for a healthy organization. So the average on a grade scale is a C. So 5 enrollments a month is a C. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it seems like for most people, when you set out on a new class, unless you know that class is really, really difficult, usually when you start off a new class, you're shooting for an A, right? Nobody shoots to get all C's unless they're in law school or something, and it's incredibly difficult, right? But that's another story. So in this case, if you want to be shooting for an A, if you want to have a stellar organization that is going to be growing constantly and growing really quickly, you need to be shooting for 10 enrollments per month, okay? Now, I went and did the math on it. I looked at the average number of enrollments at each rank. And as you go higher in rank, the average number of personal enrollments gets higher. As you get up into the ambassadors even, I believe they're averaging something like 15 enrollments a month. The platinum executives, it's 10 or above for sure. So just keep that in mind. The higher you can keep your monthly personal enrollments and stay consistent, the more your team is going to grow and the more you're going to be able to just shoot through those ranks. So yeah, that's the idea. 1 a week plus 1, 5 enrollments is the average if you want to have a healthy organization. But if you really want to grow, you should shoot for 10 or more. And you know, ask yourself, do you want to be average? Of course not. You're not here because you want to be average. If you wanted to be average, you wouldn't be a distributor. You would have been, you know, perfectly comfortable with your normal, you know, 9-to-5 job in everyday life, because that's average, right? But we strive for something more. That's why we're here. We want something better than average. So in the same spirit of being more than average, above average, let's shoot for 10 or more enrollments a month. And at first that might seem like a lot, but as we continue to grow and as we get better at our daily skills, we can continue to up those numbers till we get to the 10 enrollments a month or even more consistently. And I've heard from some people, and we're going to talk about this in just a minute. I've heard from some people say, you know, oh, I've been in this business a while, been in for like a year, 2 years, whatever it is, and I just have nobody left to talk to. So there's no way I could enroll 10 more people a month because I don't even have 10 people to talk to in a month, right? Well, here's the thing. I've got an example for you. Her name is Jennifer McKinney. She is an ambassador with the company. She consistently enrolls really high numbers. I don't know the exact number, but I know she enrolls consistently around 10, maybe 14 a month. And she's been with us for like 5 years. And she's done it the whole 5 years that she's been here. She has run out of her hot and warm market a long time ago, but she continues to enroll high numbers. And we're going to talk about how she does that in just a minute. So let's get to it. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about 3 different steps to make sure that you're enrolling at least 1 a week plus 1, at least those 5 enrollments per month. These are the 3 steps. We're going to go into them in depth on different slides, but basically creating your prospecting list, focusing on your daily income producing activities, and also expanding your network. So starting off, creating your prospect list. Now here's a couple recommendations, okay? Your prospect list, the purpose of a prospect list is to make sure that you have a list of every person that you know, whether you met them once at a coffee shop 5 years ago, you were in the same class in elementary school 20, 30, 40 years ago, or if you just met them yesterday in line at the movie theater, or even if they've been a best friend since as long as you can remember, right? Every single person you know, and you can put a name to their face, you're going to write their name down on a list. Okay, that's your master prospecting list. Okay, now on here it says, you know, you want to shoot for 2,000 names. We got that from the book Your First Year in Network Marketing. Awesome book, highly recommend it. But yeah, you want to shoot for around 2,000 names. At first, that's going to sound really high. That's going to sound really scary to try to get that many, right? But the idea is at any given time, when you sit down and try to think of everyone you know, you're going to think of about 200 people at a time. So try to sit down, you know, I guess that would be 10 times and try to get as many names down as you can and shoot for those 2,000. You'll be surprised how many people you actually know once you get going. Now, if you do get stuck, as you can see in this second bullet point, use the memory jogger tool. In the back office, we have this thing called the memory jogger. It will show you, pardon me. It will help you to remember. It will say things like, you know, who cut your hair when you were in elementary school, who runs your favorite restaurant, who was your favorite waiter that you ever met, you know, do you ever remember the name of your taxi driver? Whatever it is, it'll help you remind you of those different people that you have talked to in the past, and remember who you have interacted with. Now this bottom one here, guys, this last point on here, when you made your prospecting list, okay, you want to make sure that you don't ever assume that somebody will not be interested before you've introduced it to them. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show, I'm going to do this here. There we go. I believe I've switched it over to the camera. Can you guys see me? You should be able to see me, I believe. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Now, I wanted to switch it to the camera for a minute because this point is, if there's anything you remember from this whole webinar, it's got to be this one point, okay? It's called pre-qualifying, and it's something that you really should not do, okay? There are two things that are the biggest reasons that distributors leave money on the table, and this is number one out of those two. It's pre-qualifying. What that means is, as you're making your prospect list, you're writing down everybody that you know on a list, right, so that you can prospect to them and tell them about Xyngular and this amazing opportunity. Pre-qualifying is when you say, oh, you know what, Michael, this Michael guy I know, he really doesn't have much weight to lose. That's okay. I'm not gonna write his name down. Oh, my sister so-and-so, she makes a lot of money. She's not interested in losing weight. Oh, my uncle, well, no, I don't really like him. He's kind of a weirdo, right? When we do that, when we pre-qualify, we're leaving so much money on the table. It's insane how much money is left on the table because we disqualify these people for whatever reason that we feel like they wouldn't be interested, right? And if you think of the perfect person, you know, somebody who like is perfect for Xyngular and absolutely needs this stuff, they're probably already looking for an answer. They probably already found it somewhere else, right? And the chances are super low that you're going to be able to find somebody that's absolutely perfect for Xyngular, right? Everybody needs Xyngular, right? So instead of pre-qualifying, remember, in the United States, I believe it's 60%, almost 70% of people are considered overweight, right? That means that 60 or 70% of people need Xyngular, and even more when you consider the wellness aspects of it, right? So if you live in America and you're talking to people who are Americans, chances are in your favor, or odds are in your favor that they actually need this. So please, just, if there's anything to remember, do not pre-qualify ever. No matter how much you feel like that person doesn't need it or how badly you don't want to talk to that person, they still probably need it. And they could be one of your best prospects. You never know. In fact, we've heard multiple stories of people who are, I believe, silver executive and even a gold executive, who they were prospected by someone. Someone went and talked to them and said, hey, yeah, I'm doing this Xyngular thing, but you know what? You probably wouldn't be interested. It's fine. Don't worry. I don't want to bug you about it. And they said, oh, well, okay, bye. And they walked away. Ended up getting signed up with a different distributor who prospected them and said, you're going to love this. You're going to kill it. This is going to be amazing. You should come sign up. They went, they got signed up, and now they're a silver executive and a gold executive. Now, can you imagine how bad that person is kicking themselves, the first person who walked by and said, yeah, no, this probably isn't for you. You don't want to find yourself in that situation. It's not a fun situation to be in. Anyways, we're going to jump back to the slides now. I just wanted to make sure that we emphasize that very well. Please do not pre-qualify because it will come back to bite you. Now let's come back to the slideshow. There we go. Perfect. So that's this bullet right here. Don't ever assume that somebody won't be interested before you've introduced it to them. When you're making your prospect list, absolutely everyone goes on it. Okay. Let's keep going. Once you have your prospect list, remember that's first and foremost, you've got to have a prospect list. It helps you stay organized. It helps you remember who you've talked to before, who you haven't talked to yet, and who you need to follow up with, right? Now, you want to focus on these daily income producing activities. We're going to go through a couple of them here. These right here are this is just 4 daily activities. Now, the reason we picked these specific 4 is because we went and we read through several network marketing books that are all about how to get started in network marketing. And we found that these 4 were in common across all of the books, okay? So these are from several different credible sources, from your first year of network marketing. We've got GoPro, how to build network marketing leaders, and there's a bunch of them. But these 4 were the ones that stuck out in all of them. So number 1, add 5 names to your prospecting list, which we just talked about, every day. Now, a lot of people, consider their Facebook friends when you add a new Facebook friend. Absolutely, yeah. If you add a new friend and they accept, and yes, you are now connected as friends, that's totally a new person on your list because it's a new person you can prospect to, right? So add them to your list. If you have an actual paper, pen and paper list, write it down. Or if you keep it digitally, write it down. The point is you want to add at least 5 names to that list every single day, okay? And that doesn't take long, especially on Facebook. You can do that 5 minutes. You can just click, 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 add until somebody, accepts, until you get a couple people to accept. Now, next, number 2, 5 daily contacts. This is one that people tend to misunderstand when we talk about daily contacting. Now, daily contacts is an initial conversation about Xyngular. It is not adding a new Facebook friend. Let me be very clear about that. A daily contact is an initial conversation about Xyngular. It's the first time you've ever brought Xyngular or wellness or weight loss or health up to this person and told them that you're doing something, okay? Even if you don't use the word Xyngular, it's the first time you're bringing it up with them. Adding someone as a friend on Facebook and sending them a quick message saying, hey, nice to meet you, thanks for adding me as a friend. That counts as adding a name to your list, but that's not a daily contact, okay? And daily contacts, if there's one place that all distributors drop the ball, it's with their daily contacts, because they're counting new friends as daily contacts, which it's really not. That's adding a name, and then they're only doing maybe 1 contact a day, right? If you can do 5 daily contacts, let's just think about that for just a minute. Let's take a step aside. If you're talking to 5 people about Xyngular every day, and these are people whom you've never brought up Xyngular with before, okay? 5 new ones every day for a whole month. Let's say you even take off the weekends, right? Let's say 20 days in the month, you talk to 5 people. That is a lot of people. That's, what is that, 100? That's 100 new people that you've talked to. If you could talk to 100 people, I could almost guarantee you, even if you signed up today, that you could get 5 of them to sign up. Even if you were the worst salesman there ever was, you could get 5 out of 100 people to sign up with Xyngular, because the product offering is so amazing. I know you guys could do it. It's just a matter of being consistent. So when we talk about getting 5 enrollments in a month and staying consistent and going for 10 or more in a month, and that might seem like a lot, but if you can stay consistent with small daily activities like 5 a day, if you're talking to 10 a day, you'd probably get 20 enrollments or more consistently. We mentioned Jennifer McKinney earlier. I guarantee you she talks to 5 new people every single day, if not more. I don't know that for sure. I haven't talked to her, but I would put money on that. Anyway, so that's your daily contact. Let's jump to number 3. 5 follow-up conversations every day. Now, this means somebody that you've talked to about Xyngular before, but they, for whatever reason, didn't say yes the first time when you presented it to them, right? Now, in this situation, let's see. Okay. In this situation with your follow-up conversations, if you keep it the same number as the daily contacts, and then, and the names that you're adding to your list every day, it kind of goes together, right? So you can say, hey, the 5 people that I talked to on Monday of last week, Monday of this week, I'm going to follow up with those same 5 people. So they can stay kind of consistent that way as you go through. Different teams have different beliefs on how long you should wait before you follow up with them. So definitely turn to your upline there. But the idea is you should do the same amount of follow-ups every day that you're doing for daily contacts. And then, of course, the last step, post at least once to social media every day. That's 80% should be about normal life stuff, and 20% should be about Xyngular. If you haven't watched our training on the Facebook algorithms yet, go to the Xyngular training page, join it if you're not already a part of it, and watch that training, because it's kind of game-changing when it comes to the Facebook algorithms. If you want a great example of who runs Facebook really well, look to any of our ambassadors or any of our platinum executives. Every single one of them is just stellar on Facebook. They do such a good job of making posts that look like normal, regular life posts, like, hey, it's a picture of my dog, but then the dog is wearing a sweater that has an X on it for Xyngular, right? So they sneak Xyngular into these regular life posts. It's amazing. I highly recommend following them and trying to do the same practices that they do. We got a question here that says, do you talk about Xyngular or life? I'm assuming that would be with the daily contacts that she's asking. I would say if in the daily contacts, you're going to want to just strike up a conversation, break the ice with some normal life conversation topics. Then once you get comfortable, bring up Xyngular in a way that makes sense, right? If you're doing fast chats, for example, with text or through Facebook, you probably already have some word tracks that you could just send them. But if it's a regular life conversation, if you just met them in real life, hey, well, what do you do for work? Oh, I work as a banker. Oh, that's awesome. They'll almost always ask you in return what you do for work, to which you can respond however you'd like, but pointing towards Xyngular. Oh, I'm a health coach. I help people make money. I help people lose weight and feel great and change their friends' lives, right? However you want to say it. But yeah, those are your daily income producing activities. Now, I just want to touch for 1 second on why we recommend to focus on income producing activities specifically. It would be really easy to say, and let me just switch this back to the camera really quick for you guys. There we go. Now, it would be really easy to say, hey, go, well, let's see, am I doing this right? Yeah, you guys can see my face, right? Let me know in the chat if you can see my my camera. But yeah, so a lot of times people will set their daily activities on things that they don't have 100% control over. For example, enrollments. They'll say, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to get an enrollment today. Now, the hard part about that is we often base our confidence or our, self-worth, I guess you could say, our self-esteem when it comes to the business on our daily activities and our ability to accomplish our goals. Now, if your daily activity is something measurable and specific, like talk to 5 people in a day, there are 5 people out there that you can talk to. You have 100% control over that, unless you're in solitary confinement and you're not allowed to talk to people, right? There are plenty of people out there to go talk to. Now, if you tell yourself, I'm going to go get 1 enrollment today, you could go out and you could talk to 100 people and every one of them could tell you no. But that doesn't mean that it was a waste of time. It doesn't mean that you wasted that energy or that you're bad at this, or it doesn't mean that, it's just not meant for you. That's not true at all, right? But that's what it would feel like if we set our goals and things we don't have control over, and then those rough days come along, right? When really you did an amazing day of work. You talked to 100 people. That's awesome. Many of them will probably come along, later along, they'll come back to you and want to get signed up. So you want to measure your daily activities on things you have control over. Adding people to your prospects list, following up with 5 people, contacting 5 people, and posting to social media. And as you get better at these, you'll notice more engagement on your posts. You'll notice a higher sign-up ratio of the people that you're contacting. And you want to build up that confidence in yourself based on things you have that control over. Okay, so I'll jump off my soapbox here. I just wanted to touch on that subject for a moment. So let's go back to the slideshow. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now the last step, let me just go back to show you guys. We're talking about the 3 steps of how to enroll 1 a week plus 1, of getting those 5. First, you make your prospect list. Second, you focus on those daily activities. And I would even say you will notice in steps 1 and 2 here, add 5 names, 5 daily contacts, and 5 follow-ups. Basically, whatever your goal is for number of enrollments that month, you can replace that number. So if you're going for 15 enrollments in the month, you can say add 15 new names, 15 daily contacts, 15 follow-up conversations. Make 2 posts on social media, whatever it is. If you replace the number of enrollments you want to get with those daily contacts, you will almost always hit your goals. I can almost guarantee you that, because the numbers will be in your favor. All right, expanding your network. This is really important. For a lot of you, you're probably newer in the business, or if you're not new, maybe you're just in those first couple of ranks, right? And here's what happens to a lot of people. I wonder if I can just draw it on the board for you. That's okay. Well, yeah, why not? Let's make it visual. I'll draw it on the board so you guys can see that. Perfect. Now let me just grab a marker here. What tends to happen for a lot of people, let's see if I can aim this a little bit better. When you first get started, you'll make a post, you'll share your results. You'll say, hey, look how great I look before and after, right? you'll have a lot of people come along and ask if they can get signed up, right? They'll say, hey, what do I need to do to get signed up? Tell me more about this. What can you show me about this? How can you help me, right? And when that happens, it's really easy to get people signed up. So for the first while, you get a huge growth for a little bit, right? Because this is awesome. People are coming to me. They're getting signed up. This is easy. I can do this all day long. I can make posts and sign people up, right? Piece of cake. What happens is that is what is called your hot market, okay? Those are people who have a high level of trust with you. They see that you did something that worked. They're excited for you, and they want to do it too. So they say, hey, what can I do to get started with this, right? Now, when that hot market runs dry, when all of your hot market prospects have already seen it, you have a few warm market. Warm market just means people who have a medium level of trust with you. They'll still kind of get signed up. So you have a little bit of a plateau for a minute because you'll get a few of them signed up from your warm market, but eventually your warm market runs up too. So many of you have probably noticed in your first few months, maybe even in your first couple of weeks, you'll have this big growth period, and then you run into a little bit of a rut because you run out of that warm market. Looks a little bit like that, right? Where we come back down almost all the way, if not all the way back down to where we started, right? And the reason being is because we run out of that hot market, we run out of that warm market, but we haven't done anything to bring more people in yet. We haven't done anything to bring that network towards us, right? When you think about network marketing, there's two aspects to that, networking and marketing. Now, marketing, that's easy. That's just telling people what we're doing and that it worked, and people come to us, right? For the first couple of weeks, a lot of us, when we're first getting started and as distributors, we only do the marketing side of things because it's easy. They just come to us and get signed up. I mean, hey, this was a piece of cake and it was fun and it was exciting and maybe we even earned a trip off of it, right? But then we realize as we start to hit this rut, we start to realize that, it's not working. People stop coming to me. I need to start reaching out to people, which is where those daily activities come in handy. You need to be reaching out and talking to more people every day. You probably still have some warm market and you want to reach out to them as well. But really, you got to start getting into what is called your lukewarm or your cold market, okay? Now, these are people who have little to no level of trust with you, okay? So the cold market is complete strangers. A lukewarm market would be like friends of friends. Maybe they know you, but not that well, okay? Now, that's where you're going to start to see this. That's where things are going to start to come back up again, okay? When you can learn to enroll people in your lukewarm and your cold markets, that's when it's going to come back up. Now, here's the interesting thing. Nobody likes cold contacts. Nobody likes to just call up, somebody that you've never talked to on the phone and then have to, try to convince them to order, right? Now, interestingly enough, one of our owners, Rudy Revac, he actually got started because somebody was just calling through the phone book and just called every person and pitched it to every one of them, right? And Rudy happened to be one of them, and they got him signed up, right? And that was really cool, but it's not a very effective way of prospecting, right? Instead of doing that cold contacting, what you can do is be constantly growing your network. Now, I'm going to pull the slideshow back up to give you a couple ideas of how you can do that. There it is. You want to try for about 7 different sources of prospects, okay? Now, this is going to shock you, so everybody just make sure you're sitting down for a second because this is going to be a hard one to handle. You ready? Facebook is considered one source of prospects. I know, it's crazy, right? But it is really only one source. Now, there's lots of ways you can use Facebook, right? You can do buy, sell, trade sites. You can do, or rather groups. You can do different groups from your town. You can be a part of different Facebook pages and messages and things like that, right? But Facebook is one source of prospects. It's a really good one. It's where we get a lot of our first signups, and that's great. But you want to make sure that you're still meeting people in real life, in the grocery store, at the gas station. You're starting up those conversations. You're growing your network. You're making those friends. You're warming up those colder contacts, right? You're building those relationships so they start to have a higher level of trust with you. Then when you present to them and you present Xyngular and the business to them, they're more likely to say yes because you've warmed them up. You've built that level of trust and relationship with them. So try to shoot for 7 sources of prospect. The reason we say 7, because if you listen to any investing professional, they will all tell you that you want 7 sources of income, okay? Now, this is income for your business. You want 7 sources of prospects, okay? Now, again, that Facebook can be one, Instagram could be another, but really social media is pretty much just one of them. Meeting people in real life can be one. You know, as you're out and about, you can go out and you can join clubs that are part of the city, right? City clubs that you're a part of. Your church can be one. If you're a part of a sports team, a local community sports team, there's another one, right? Just getting involved and networking with people, going to parties that your friends are holding and talking to all the people that you do not know at that party until you know everyone there by name. And then you walk out and you'll have everybody as friends already, right? By adding those friends, by networking that way, you're constantly growing that warm market, and you never, ever have to actually make those cold contacts. A perfect example of this, we've mentioned her a couple times, and if you ever watch this video, Jennifer, apologize for mentioning you so many times, but Jennifer McKinney is incredible at this. She is so good at meeting somebody new, making them feel comfortable with her to the point that they trust her, and then presenting the business to her. So pardon me, presenting the business to them. So by the time she presents Xyngular or the business or the product or whatever it is to that person, they already trust her. So at that point, they're not a cold contact anymore. And she is so good at it, she could probably do it in a matter of minutes with somebody on the street if she wanted to. So if you can get good at networking, at communicating that way and building that network of yours, expanding that network, then you will never actually have to go all the way to the cold market, right? You can go to your friends of friends. When you get new people signed up, you can help them send referrals to you. But if you can get good at having those different sources of prospects and warming up those prospects until they have a level of trust with you, you never actually have to do cold contacting, which I know is the worst thing in the world and nobody wants to do that. But the earlier you can get started right now, if you're on the uptick of that curve that I drew a minute ago, if you can start there, then you never have to come back down, because you'll just continue to grow as you continue to expand your network. We mentioned a minute ago, network marketing. The marketing is sharing your pictures and your story and getting people excited about what you're doing. The networking is expanding your audience to make sure you have enough people to prospect to all the time. Okay, perfect. I think we've kind of covered this. So understand your hot, warm, lukewarm, and cold markets. A lot of people, the majority of distributors, are working with their lukewarm markets. And there are a lot of different ways to do that. I recommend asking your upline what they do, because if they're enrolling consistently, they definitely know what they're doing with their lukewarm market. So definitely go to them and ask them. Let's see. All right. So a recap. Give me just one moment here. There we go. Okay. Perfect. So recap, never ever stop sponsoring, because it's the fuel to your vehicle. If you eventually stop sponsoring, your vehicle, no matter where you're at in the business, your organization, your business will eventually fall flat. It will eventually stop. Create your prospecting list. Let's see, there we go. Create your prospecting list, shoot for 2,000 names. Use that prospecting list. Keep track of who you've talked to, who you haven't followed up with in more than a year, who you need to follow up with, and so on. Keep it all organized. I mentioned earlier there are two things that are the biggest reasons why people end up leaving money on the table. One is pre-qualifying. That's saying, hey, this person doesn't need it because they don't have weight to lose. They're already healthy. They already have a lot of money. Well, guess what? A lot of times they end up being the best people, right? If they don't need the money, then there's no pressure to make the sale, and people get signed up, right? Whatever the situation may be. Don't pre-qualify. And the second reason why people leave money on the table is because they're not organized with their efforts. Having a prospecting list keeps you organized with those efforts. Step number 3, enroll 1 a week plus 1 by sticking to those daily tasks, which just running through them really quickly, adding people to your prospecting list every day, contacting 5 people every day. That's starting up a new conversation with 5 different people every day. Also making sure that you're following up with 5 people every day with whom you've spoken before about Xyngular, and posting to social media at least once every day, making sure it's about 80-20 on the mix. Now, the last thing is just making sure you're constantly expanding your network so that you don't have to go deep dive in the cold waters, because nobody likes the polar plunge. If there's any of you listening that are out in Alaska, maybe you guys do, and that's great, but you should probably keep away from the cold market by just warming people up, right? Constantly meeting new people, building a level of trust with them, and then presenting Xyngular to them and meeting them where they're at, right? I mean, if they can't get started with an ultimate, that's okay, right? Meet them where they can go, and continue to be friends and continue that healthy relationship. But that's it for me today, guys. I just wanted to make sure to touch on those few points about personal sponsoring You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for checking.